Finding Your Way Back to Peace, a gentle guide for life after 50. There's a quiet panic that settles in somewhere around your 50s. You wake up one morning but realize you can't remember the last time you felt truly alive. The mirror shows a stranger, but more unsettling is the stranger you've become to yourself. Everyone talks about the golden years, but where is the gold when you feel invisible, forgotten, or like your best days are behind you? What if I told you that everything you've been searching for has been waiting inside you all along? But first, you need to understand why you've been looking in all the wrong places. My friend, if you're here with me today, something inside you is stirring. Perhaps you felt that familiar ache of wondering if this is all there is. Maybe you've caught yourself thinking that life is just happening to you now, instead of you actively living it. You're not alone in this feeling. Millions of people over 50 share this quiet struggle, but we rarely talk about it openly. Today, we're going to change that. We're going to explore something profound yet simple. We're going to discover how to reconnect with the person you've always been, underneath all the noise, worry, and accumulated weight of years. This isn't about turning back time or pretending you're 30 again. This is about something far more precious. It's about finding your way back to peace, to yourself, to a life that feels meaningful again. The invisible epidemic. Here's what nobody tells you about reaching 50. The world begins to treat you differently, not cruelly, but carelessly. You become background noise in a youth-obsessed culture. Your opinions carry less weight. Your dreams seem less important. Your body starts sending you messages you'd rather not receive. But here's the deeper truth. The real crisis isn't how the world sees you. It's how you've started seeing yourself. Somewhere along the way, you began believing that your prime years were behind you. You started accepting that feeling invisible was just part of aging. Therefore, you stopped paying attention to the whispers of your own heart. You stopped believing that your story could have new chapters worth reading. You settled into a quiet resignation that this is simply how life is now. But what if that's not true? What if the world has been lying to you about what this phase of life is supposed to feel like? The wisdom you've forgotten you have. By the time you reach 50, you've climbed mountains that would terrify your younger self. You've survived heartbreak, financial stress, health scares, and losses that once seemed unbearable. You've raised children, built careers, maintained relationships through decades of change. You've learned to navigate complexity that would overwhelm someone half your age. But here's what happens. Instead of recognizing this as profound strength, you focus on what you've lost. Your energy isn't what it used to be. Your memory isn't as sharp. Your body doesn't cooperate the way it once did. Therefore, you conclude that you're diminishing rather than evolving. This is the cruelest trick your mind can play on you. You're not less than you were. You're different. You carry something now that you didn't have at 30. You carry wisdom. You carry perspective. You carry the deep knowing that comes only from having lived through decades of human experience. That feeling of things being lighter now? That's not your imagination. That's wisdom making everything more manageable. What once seemed impossible now feels like just another challenge to navigate. But you've been so focused on what you've lost that you haven't noticed what you've gained. The quiet panic of overthinking. Let me tell you about the tree that survived for centuries. It weathered storms, lightning strikes, fires, and avalanches. But it wasn't these dramatic disasters that finally brought it down. It was an army of tiny beetles boring through its bark, eating away at its core from the inside. Your mind works similarly. You can handle the big crises. When life throws you a real challenge, you rise to meet it. But it's the small, constant worries that eat away at your peace. The endless stream of what-ifs that play in the background of your thoughts. What if my health fails? What if I run out of money? What if I'm becoming irrelevant? What if I've wasted my life? What if it's too late to change anything? These thoughts arrive uninvited, but make themselves at home in your mind. They whisper their fears during quiet moments. They turn your imagination against you, creating elaborate scenarios of everything that could go wrong. But here's what you need to understand. Most of these worries will never happen. Statistics show that 85% of what we worry about never comes to pass. The energy you spend imagining distant disasters is energy stolen from living your actual life. The French philosopher Montaigne once said, "My life has been full of terrible misfortunes, most of which never happened." Isn't that the truth? How much of your mental energy goes to problems that exist only in your imagination? The power of presence. Your imagination is a powerful tool, but it's been working against you. Every time you project yourself into an uncertain future or replay past mistakes, you abandon the present moment. But the present moment is the only place where life actually happens. Think about the last time you felt truly alive, really alive. Maybe it was laughing deeply with someone you love. Maybe it was standing in awe before a beautiful sunset. Maybe it was completing something you didn't think you could do. Where were you during those moments? You were completely present. That's not a coincidence. Aliveness happens in the present. Peace happens in the present. Joy happens in the present. But worry? Worry lives in the future. Regret lives in the past. Therefore, the more time you spend worrying about what might happen or regretting what has happened, the less time you spend actually living. This is why the phrase, "Today is a new beginning," is so powerful. It brings you back to where life is actually happening, right here, right now, in this moment. The gentle art of acceptance. Life has a way of not going according to plan. People change, circumstances shift. The future you imagined doesn't unfold the way you expected. You can spend enormous energy fighting these realities, but fighting what is only creates more suffering. Acceptance doesn't mean you approve of everything that happens. It doesn't mean you stop trying to improve things. It means you acknowledge that, in this moment, things are what they are. Resisting that fact won't change it, but will drain your energy. Here's a simple but profound exercise. When you're facing something that's causing you stress, ask yourself, what's the worst that could happen? Really think about it. Then ask, could I handle that if I had to? Most of the time, the answer is yes. You're stronger than you give yourself credit for. Once you've mentally prepared for the worst-case scenario, something magical happens. The grip of fear loosens. The situation doesn't feel quite so overwhelming. You realize that even if everything goes wrong, you'll find a way to cope. You always have. Taking back your power. Worry thrives when you're idle. It loves to fill empty spaces in your mind with endless loops of anxiety. But worry has no time to linger when you're actively engaged in something meaningful. The cure for worry isn't positive thinking or forced optimism. It's action. Even small actions can quiet the voice of anxiety. When you're doing something constructive, your mind doesn't have space for elaborate worst-case scenarios. This doesn't mean you need to stay busy every moment. It means you need to stay engaged. Engaged with your life, engaged with the people you care about, engaged with activities that bring you joy or purpose? What's one small step you could take today towards something that matters to you? It doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be as simple as calling someone you miss, reading a book that interests you, taking a walk in nature. The key is to move from passive worry to active engagement. The art of letting go. Life is too short to waste energy on things that don't truly matter. But isn't it funny how the smallest things can stir up the biggest emotions? A misplaced item, a driver who cuts you off, a misunderstood text message. These tiny annoyances can easily accumulate, but spoil your entire day. Before you react to something frustrating, pause. Ask yourself, will this matter a week from now? A year from now? Most of the time, the answer is no. That simple question can shift your perspective instantly. Dr. Johnson once said, "Life is too short to be little." What he meant is that life is too precious to waste on petty concerns. Your energy is limited, but valuable. Spend it on what truly matters. The treasures that last. One of history's greatest teachers reminded us not to store treasures where rust but moth can destroy them. Instead, store treasures that last forever. What are these lasting treasures? They're not things you can buy or hold. They're qualities like peace, kindness, gratitude, but self-love. These treasures live within you. They can't be stolen or destroyed. They grow stronger with time rather than weaker. They're available to you regardless of your circumstances, your age, or your bank account. The beautiful thing about this stage of life is that you have the wisdom to recognize what truly matters. You've tried chasing external validation, material success, but other people's approval. You've learned that these things are temporary at best. Now you can focus on what lasts, on relationships that nourish you, on activities that bring you joy, on moments of peace that restore your spirit, on the simple but profound experience of being alive in this moment. The path back to yourself. Self-discovery isn't a destination you reach or a project you complete. It's a path that leads back to freedom, peace, but a life unburdened by unnecessary pain. It's a process that begins with small, simple actions. These actions don't require more time or energy than you already have. They simply ask you to notice, to be aware, to pay attention to your own experience. Start with how you talk to yourself. Are you kind to the person in your head? Do you speak to yourself with the same compassion you'd show a good friend? Most of us are far harsher with ourselves than we'd ever be with someone we care about. Notice the small moments of beauty in your day, the warmth of your morning coffee, the sound of birds outside your window, the feeling of sunlight on your skin. These aren't trivial experiences. They're reminders that life is still offering you gifts if you pause to receive them. Listen to your body. Really listen. It's been carrying you through decades of life, but when did you last thank it? When did you last treat it with genuine care rather than frustration about what it can't do anymore? The ripple effect. When you begin to treat yourself with kindness but compassion, something remarkable happens. You naturally become a source of light for others. Whether you realize it or not, you become a guide for people who are still navigating their own struggles. Your peace becomes contagious. Your acceptance becomes inspiring. Your wisdom becomes a gift to those around you. You may even become an anchor of hope for someone walking through their darkest moments. This isn't about becoming a teacher or counselor. It's about the natural influence that comes from living authentically. When you're at peace with yourself, others feel that peace. When you're kind to yourself, others remember how to be kind to themselves. The time is now. Here's what I want you to understand with absolute clarity. This stage of life holds enormous untapped potential. The transitions you face after 50 often force you to reevaluate what truly matters. In that reevaluation lies incredible power. You don't have to upend your entire life to feel alive again. You don't need to make dramatic changes or start over completely. You just need to begin paying attention to what's already there. Your life isn't happening to you. You're shaping it with every thought, choice, but action. That's why awareness is so powerful. What you focus on grows. When you focus on kindness, gratitude, but self-care, these qualities expand, not only within you, but around you. The beautiful truth is that feeling younger, freer, but more alive doesn't belong to any specific age. It belongs to anyone willing to reconnect with themselves. It belongs to anyone brave enough to look inward instead of constantly seeking external validation. Your fresh start. Every morning, you wake up to a clean slate. Yesterday's worries don't have to carry over into today. Last week's mistakes don't define this week's possibilities. You get to choose, moment by moment, how you want to engage with your life. This doesn't mean pretending problems don't exist or forcing yourself to be positive all the time. It means recognizing that you have more power than you've been giving yourself credit for. You have the power to choose your focus. You have the power to choose your response. You have the power to choose what deserves your precious energy. The gentle revolution. What I'm describing isn't a dramatic transformation. It's a gentle revolution, a quiet returning to yourself, a soft awakening to the life that's been waiting for you all along. It starts with permission. Permission to be exactly where you are without judgment. Permission to move at your own pace. Permission to care for yourself with the same tenderness you'd show someone you love deeply. From there, it's just a matter of small, consistent choices. Choosing presence over worry. Choosing acceptance over resistance. Choosing engagement over passive resignation. Choosing kindness over criticism. These aren't one-time decisions. They're ongoing practices. But each time you choose differently, you strengthen your ability to choose differently again. Each moment of peace makes the next moment of peace more accessible. The life you're creating. As you practice these gentle ways of being, you'll notice changes. Not dramatic overnight transformations, but subtle shifts that accumulate over time. You'll sleep better because your mind is quieter. You'll enjoy simple pleasures more because you're present to receive them. You'll worry less because you're focused on what you can actually control. Your relationships will deepen because you're no longer constantly distracted by anxiety about the future or regret about the past. You'll have more energy for what matters because you're not wasting it on what doesn't. Most importantly, you'll remember who you are underneath all the worry, all the shoulds, all the expectations. You'll reconnect with the essential you that has been there all along, patiently waiting for you to come home to yourself. The invitation. This is my invitation to you, not to become someone new, but to remember who you've always been, not to fix what's broken, but to nurture what's already whole, not to change everything, but to see everything differently. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment or the perfect circumstances. You don't need anyone's permission or approval. You just need to begin, right here, right now, with whatever you have. Take one small step today. Pay attention to how you speak to yourself. Notice something beautiful that you might normally overlook. Take 3 deep breaths, but really feel them. These tiny acts of awareness are how the journey begins. You are not alone on this path. Every person who has ever lived has faced the challenge of finding meaning, peace, but purpose in their later years. The wisdom you need is already within you. The strength you need has been proven through decades of experience. The love you need can be found in your own heart. Your story is far from over. In fact, the most beautiful chapters might be the ones you're about to write. But they begin with this moment. They begin with you choosing to be present to your own life. They begin with you treating yourself with the kindness you deserve. Your next chapter starts now. The life you're longing for isn't somewhere in the distance. It's not dependent on external circumstances changing. It's available to you right now, in this moment, through your willingness to be exactly where you are, with complete acceptance, but gentle attention. You have everything you need to begin. You have the wisdom of your experience. You have the strength that comes from having survived everything life has thrown at you so far. You have the capacity for peace that exists in every human heart. Therefore, my friend, let's take this first step together. Let's choose presence over worry. Let's choose acceptance over resistance. Let's choose to see this phase of life not as an ending, but as a beginning. The beginning of the most authentic, peaceful, but meaningful years of your life. The path back to yourself starts now, but you're not walking it alone. We're all finding our way back to peace, one gentle step at a time. Welcome home to yourself. Welcome to your life. Welcome to this beautiful moment that is yours to live fully.